Hi, and welcome back. Sean Stone has grown up in the film world, having acted since childhood in his father Oliver Stone's films, including The Doors and JFK. Stone majored in American history, studying at Oxford and Princeton University. He graduated from Princeton in 2006 after completing his thesis on the New World Order. Stone began his filmmaking career apprenticing under his father, directing documentaries for the DVD release of Nixon and W., and became associate editor on the documentary series The Secret History of the United States. Stone wrote and directed his first fictional short, Singularity, in 2008, and now he has just completed his feature-length directorial debut, Graystone, a supernatural horror story based on actual events that occurred when the filmmakers broke into a haunted insane asylum in late 2009. Stone will soon be seen on the third season of Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura. He joins Ventura's team this year as co-host, investigating claims of conspiracy across the United States. Stone is currently developing multiple productions, including co-productions in China, Iran, and 2 films scheduled to be filmed in the United States this year. Thank you, Sean. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Okay, so one of the things we like to ask people is about their awakening process. So, were you somebody that was kind of born awake, or did you have, do you remember, a time in your life where you kind of realized the world was very different than what you were told it was?
Interesting question. I think there's just different singularities, like moments of consciousness, awakening. It's like you try to go back and you remember the first time, the first memory that you have, right? The first conscious memory.
Yeah.
And then you think of how you start to create a personality, a continuous personality for yourself, as a being. Because, it's all fragmented when you're young. And we piece it together, and then you start to have this metaphysical awakening, which for me started, 4 or 5 years old, and I started wondering about heaven and what happens after we die. There's two. To me, there were 2 major options. One is we become unconscious and basically go into eternal darkness, but we are conscious of the unconsciousness in a sense, almost like sleep, right? At a certain point, you become aware that you're sleeping, and so I figured there must be some kind of consciousness of being unconscious. And so far as if you're in eternal darkness, at some point the eye comes back in, and then what if you're just there forever, like in eternity of dark emptiness, no sound, no light, nothing, right? How fascinating is that?
Yeah.
That's one ending, let's say, for our existence. And the other concept is heaven, where I thought, well, wait a minute, if it's pure heaven, pure joy, that's also eternal. And so you start to basically grapple with this concept of infinity. And that's, frankly, a very frightening concept. But if you don't start to grapple with it, you can never come to, the new awareness that there are infinite things, but we give finitude to our infinite existence through choice and action.
Yeah. Did you? Was there an incident that sparked those thoughts in you when you were 5?
I'm sure there was, but it wasn't the incident. It wasn't the cause that I remember. It's just the effect, the awareness. Okay.
So, tell me a little bit about your thesis. What prompted you to do your thesis on Introduction to World Order, and were your professors, did they give you any shit for it, or any stuff for it?
Well, it's a big jump, 20 years later, fast forward.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the whole point of a thesis advisor at Princeton is that they're supposed to help you and guide your drafts, in a sense, as they come along, as you formulate your thesis, your overall argument presentation. And so my advisor was great. She was very helpful, and she definitely supported my writing this thesis. Although, frankly, the other reader, there's two readers who read it and grade you. The second reader was not very thrilled with the concept, apparently, and thought it was a lot of kind of balderdash, I guess you'd say. But what you should explain a little bit what the thesis is about, because I'd like to, it's good that you give your take first, and then I can explain where it came from.
Okay, well, what I got from it, when I read it, it was just about how the British, got together to establish an Anglo-American empire by having roundtable groups and by writing doctrines and essays and meetings and strategizing through wars and manipulating, different fractions of the world.
Yeah.
And it's a very, it's a very, like I talked to you before, it's a really good introduction to, like, the British imperialism, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's essentially, it was designed to follow the career of William Yandell Elliott, who was Henry Kissinger's mentor at Harvard. Elliott was a professor emeritus there for about 40 years of politics, and he had been a Rhodes Scholar drafted to England from the South, basically, southern Confederate state, which is Tennessee, and he still had a lot of those allegiances, frankly, to a lot of his young people, a lot of the young writers and thinkers around him when he was a young man were the I'm blanking on their name. There was like a clique of these guys like Robert Penn Warren, who who were a little bit unreformed Southerners, and they had a lot of anti-federal notions. The idea of the Confederation, and the notion of the Confederation was a little bit modeled on the British imperial policy of Commonwealth, which is like an informal empire. You ultimately are owned and answer to the Queen, but the territories would have their own rulership under a prime minister of their own choosing, under whatever presidents, under people who would represent them. But fundamentally, there's a formal empire that still exists informally, and that's what he was drafted into. Essentially, he was drafted into a conspiracy. Eliot was. He was brought in under the Rhodes policy of giving scholarships to young people from the former empire, America and other countries, to study in England and Oxford and study the British tradition. And Rhodes had set that up because, as a major imperialist of the 19th century, Cecil Rhodes, the man they named Rhodesia after, now Zimbabwe, who set up these basically like the diamond and gold mines of South Africa, who was the agent of the Rothschilds. His will stipulates that we have to recreate the empire informally and bring America and all these Commonwealth countries into the fold. What are now the Commonwealth countries into the fold of our empire? We can't do it formally. We cannot have a standing army in every country of the world. We don't have the power and the money to do that. We have to be smarter than them. And that Rhodes policy gets carried over into the roundtable groups, Alfred Milner and company, who start to strategize. And frankly, it's very interesting to see how what is the United Nations is very much a think tank modeled on the British Empire policy, which is at the top, we're strategizing for the common weal, which is the idea that the whole world belongs to the Commonwealth. Who really runs the Commonwealth? It's not the people themselves; it's the elite. So the oil and the land, the minerals, do not belong to the people. Brazil, for example, it really belongs to the elite.
Yeah.
The laws to control it, and that's how the nature of the empire has shifted. It's become an informal empire, an empire of the mind. An idea of free trade, for example, the idea that your resources belong to us. We have the freedom to buy as cheap as possible, right? There's no national sovereignty over your land, over your resources, over your people. That concept of national sovereignty is exactly what the British worked to destroy, and frankly, they have to destroy it. They have destroyed that notion. They destroy it every day within this country now. We don't even have a conception of our own national sovereignty, let alone that of any other country.
True. Yeah.
Basically, the New World Order is succeeding, and it's just an imperial model. And frankly, it predates Britain. If you really trace it, it goes back to Egypt and Babylon.
Yeah. Further.
What Coca-Cola, the ingredients in Coca-Cola, are found in Pharaoh Ramses' tomb.
Oh, what?
Cola.
No, I heard you. I'm saying what because I'm shocked.
And think about control and how it carries on from generation to generation. And the anthrax was used in the tombs, like the Setian temple, for example, and all these curse of the mummies. The curse of the mummy was really just anthrax and other poisons that were made, basically kept in the air so that no one could travel upon this. So what really we think are new discoveries are really just old, or you could say the empire preserving their knowledge as they pass it on generation to generation to keep the humans as slaves.
Yeah. Wow. Why'd you major in history? What did you find so fascinating about history?
Like I just said, if you don't understand the context of your existence, you cannot fight. You cannot stand up. You cannot be free. Slaves are meant to be ignorant. A free man understands his history, understands how he got here, and where he wants to go. Because without the history, without the past, we have no future.
True. So tell me about this impeach Obama campaign. Like, why do you think it's important that Obama be impeached? Specifically Obama because it's like, I'm thinking if we impeach Obama, then we have Biden, and if he's part of the same system, why, what's the point? So what is your take on, Yeah,
people say that all the time, if we impeach Obama, we get Biden. If we get Romney. And I say, listen, forget about the future. Forget about the 6 months from now or 3 months from now when the election happens. Focus on the fact that people are not awake right now, this moment. You're living in ignorance now, and you're letting people stay ignorant every moment that you don't tell them this man has made an impeachable offense. You know that when you impeach someone, you don't have to actually remove them from office. Congress can impeach Obama and yet not remove him. But by impeaching him, in the process, I want people to wake up to the fact that he has committed crimes against the public. Crimes like not only the illegal war with Libya, because that's...
But to us, like the NDAA Act. And,
the NDAA Act, the assassination of American citizens.
Yeah.
The best fact that daily they're trying to take away our sovereignty as citizens in this country. And, you just look around and you can see the police state as it's coming in because the idea ultimately is martial law.
Definitely, yeah. Definitely, it's creepy.
And also the bailout. Frankly, Obama pushed the bailout. He pushed the bailout, allowed it to happen. He allowed Wall Street to be bailed out. He did not push for Glass-Steagall to be reenacted to protect the American citizens, our depositors' money from these investment banks to speculate with. Okay, he's not done anything to shut down the derivatives. All he does is continue the Federal Reserve regime to print money, to bail out Europe, to preserve the wealth of the elite at our expense, and use our taxpayer money, basically a safeguard. Like at the end of the day, we're the ones that are putting the bill, right? Our become exorbitant. I mean, you're going to see this country is just going to go downhill, and this man does not represent leadership. So if you don't represent leadership, if you don't have a vision for our future, a vision of productivity, of bringing industry back to this country, of putting us into space, improving, of having a vision of a cosmic consciousness, and stating that to mankind, as John Kennedy said, that essentially we have this impetus to go to space, not because it's easy, because it's hard. That's what a leader says. We have to bring industry back to our country because otherwise we're a country of slaves. Without industry,
you have you're enslaved
by the conditions at any point. power go down, in terms of the overall, the failing infrastructure. We can lose power, bridges, we can lose roads. We're decaying, and you don't have a man in place to take the reins and speak directly to the American people, and that's what's impeachable about him. So until we find a leader who's ready to step up, the American people have to take the power back into their own hands.
Do you think that we can survive without having a leader? Do you think that we necessarily even need a leader? Because it's too, like, I like Ron Paul, and for me, I feel like the system is just rigged. I don't even know if I don't even know how I feel about voting anymore. But then I see people, okay, they found out about Obama, and now they're running to Ron Paul, but then they're just kind of blindly following him, and I think there are a lot of people too that they don't want to take responsibility. They want somebody to take responsibility for them, and they put all that energy, all that focus on that one person and expect them to save them. They're still kind of, I feel like a lot of people are still locked into this idea of a savior,
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something. You get the leader that you deserve, and I believe in leadership, but I believe the leadership emanates from its people. If you don't deserve if you as people do not have a great heart, you will not get a great leader. But I do think that the time of the Mahdi, as they say in Islam or in Judaism, the time of the Messiah, the Mahdi and the Messiah are the same. That time is coming. God will intervene. God will send his messengers, not just the Messiah, but the whole army of light. And the light warriors will step up and take the leadership. And it's then up to the people to see it and awaken and follow it, or not. But really, if we don't take a stand, if we don't have leadership, we're doomed, because we can't survive. We can't survive as individuals. That's an anthill. That's an animalistic society. Humans are not animals. We're far too creative. We're far too organized. We're far too principled to be animals.
So, just getting back to Obama for a second, I feel, that there's just so many people, even if you research and you look into, they're just blatant things, like you said, the illegal war in Libya, like, what is a kinetic action? People, like, I would say, oh, but it's a war, and people's like, oh, no, it's a kinetic action. I'm like, what, can you, like, define for me what a kinetic action exactly is? And nobody can, like, I just, and I'm in Taiwan right now, so, I have a lot of friends from all over the world, Taiwanese people too, but there are a lot of people from like New Zealand, London, South Africa, and they've just kind of like haggled me about like, why are you guys in Libya? I'm like, well, I don't know, I didn't like, I don't agree with it either. There's just a lot of So if you look at Obama, the things that he's a part of. And you can do the research, you can look at the evidence, but there's still people that are just so emotionally attached to Obama. It's just like almost as if they're under some kind of spell, almost as if, they're taking it personally. They're taking him on, and I remember...
This is a cult leader. When you're a cult leader, you have to have the charisma that carries you, and the hypnotic technique behind him. I mean, he was trained in hypnosis. You can tell from the first... I could tell without even learning about this. I learned later that he was trained in hypnosis, but just from hearing his voice, he uses cadences that you can learn through hypnotic immersion, in a sense. You have to be schooled in this. It's like Hitler, and that's why he's so dangerous. He's a cult leader. He's a fanatic, essentially. He has no principle, which makes him a fanatic. He has no principle. Yeah. He doesn't stand up for anything. He stands upon wordplay, which you said kinetic action is what the Obama regime is great at. It's 1984 here. They say we're not fighting a war; it's a kinetic action. Yeah. We're not killing civilians; they're combatants. Wait a minute, they're combatants. They're like any young man who's killed by a bomb is called a combatant.
Yeah, it's semantics.
Anyone they attach is a terrorist. Doesn't matter if they're American citizen or foreign. They're a terrorist. This is Bertrand Russell's semantics. You have to know.
Yeah, semantics, definitely. Yeah.
I can teach people to believe that snow is black. I can teach them to believe snow is black. You understand? I will keep indoctrinating you till you believe snow is black. Then you go around and say that's black. It doesn't matter that it's white, because it's just a formulation in your mind.
Yeah, and it's coupled with like all the celebrities backing him, and all of the like kind of like worshiping the false idols. Like you get celebrities to like attach, get behind them. People worship the celebrities. They want to dress like them. They want to be like them, or people want to dress like them, be like them. They follow them, and then you get a celebrity that says, hey, vote for Obama. Obama's cool. You get like Obama Girl. You get Will I Am to like make a song.
Yeah, but aside from George Clooney, who I think has his own political career agenda, no one is really backing Obama. People are pissed off at this guy. You have to understand.
Well, I'm talking about, when he was
he was running the first time.
Yeah, running and getting elected.
Yeah, well, the first time, the problem is that people actually bought the hype. They believed the cult fanatic. The truth, it's very simple to program people when you know that 70% of people, 70% of human beings respond to the behavior of others. Okay, demographic. You take statistics on this, right? You have someone react fearfully. That's what Paranormal Activity was all about. Paranormal Activity, the film, when they released it, they put out this advertising where they showed people reacting to the film, and they were reacting with fear, right? When you see people react with fear, you get scared, okay? So you program them to be afraid of this movie, to think it's the scariest movie ever, okay? People are the same when it comes to politics. That's why people understand when the Illuminati have rituals and they have their meetings, and they sit there and they decide, we're going to start to put forward now, for example, the next agenda is going to be the war with China. They're going to start to put it into the media, into film, very discreetly at first. Depends on how rapidly this thing develops, frankly. I mean, there was almost China in May when I was there, over the Philippine Island dispute, which really is about gold. The Chinese pay back in gold. They don't trust the dollar. The dollar's being printed en masse to save Europe. It's going to cause hyperinflation. And they're holding these bonds on dollars. They want gold. They want at least something solid that they think has more physical value. So the war with China is coming, at least as far as the elites are concerned. We're not going to let it happen. That's why we're working, people like me are working to stop the war with Iran. The war with Iran is about triggering the Middle East, which is then the border of China. Understand? It's all geopolitics. Don't look at China. Look at the catalyst for war with China.
It's like also too. You're talking about like how they're going to start putting it like in the media, right? Like the war with China, and it's like though too. It's like the masses have to have some kind of agreement on a psychic level, or in order for their plan to be carried out. Would you agree with that? Is that why they?
This is the interesting thing about the Illuminati. It's about perception. It's a perception war. The all-seeing eye is all about how do you perceive the world? How do you choose to perceive it? When human beings wake up and decide, look, I'm not going to deal with this society anymore. I'm checking out of the matrix. This matrix that we live in is a grid that's designed to keep us enslaved. It's designed to keep us paying 50 to 70% of our income towards taxation, right? And beyond that, if you count all the insurance and whatnot. We're just being drained. We're being paid and then drained like batteries. And you know what the next step is? To kill us. They want that.
Yeah, but we've done the work. They don't need us anymore.
Exactly. Once the cattle can no longer produce milk, and they go off to slaughter, and they view humans the same way. So if we don't decide to wake up and say, look, this is all nonsense, man. This is BS. You don't have to pay an income tax.
Yeah, it's non-compliance. I mean, that's the real power. We just have to realize it. It's so easy. It's hard.
Yeah, but they never ratified this amendment that calls for income tax. The Supreme Court even said there is no new tax. The income tax is not constitutional. They can tax corporation. They can tax sales. They can tax what they want, but they can't tax our income from work, from productivity. The federal government can't. And why do they do that anyway? The IRS pays all its monies to Great Britain. Ultimately, we are tenants of the Queen. So until people wake up and take that and just say, look, this is a corrupt system. We're not going to buy into it anymore. We're not going to believe in it because we believe that we're going to win the jackpot at the casino anymore. We're not going to believe in it because we think one day we'll become American Idol. One day we'll become a movie star. One day we'll get rich and famous and happy. No, one day we're not going to be happy. One day we're going to be dead. Right now, this is the happiness we have is in this moment, in realizing that we're human beings, that we can be good to each other, that we can work together to produce, to create. That's the impetus. We are created in the image of God, not in the image of slaves. They want us to believe we're in the image of monkeys, which are basically their form of slaves. They want we're just evolved monkeys.
Yeah.
Nonsense. That Darwinist Kant came out of, the pre-eugenics movement came out of Malthus in England. It came out of, Malthus was, exactly, Malthusian thought. Huxley, T.H. Huxley, who was the grandfather of Julian and Atlas, the creators of Brave New World and UNESCO and all these formations of control. T.H. Huxley was the one who launched Darwin. It was applied. It wasn't a new concept of evolution. It was an old thing. It's been around.
Yeah.
So it's a concocted world. You have to understand that you're living in a concocted reality. These people control the entertainment industries. They control your perception of things. They give people money. They give money to, producers and to studios and to, bankers or whatnot. And they say, here, go spend the money so people get excited about it. They want it. They also want to get money to spend it. But really, they're the people who rule it are the ones printing the money. Paper. It's how silly is this? It's like the Monopoly man. Here, take some. Go play the game of Monopoly. Aren't you having fun, little boys and girls? Yes, we're having so much fun. We own these little properties. Well, at the end of the day, it's a Monopoly board. You don't own it.
It all goes back in the box. Yeah.
Say you're going to end up as dust. So what matters in life? What are you able to give? What are you able to create? What kind of love are you able to engender? That's why these people have no power. If we're afraid of them, you don't love them. But what is true love? That's the great power, is when you love someone and when you are loved. That's the tremendous power. That's why they kill anyone who has that kind of power, like a Martin Luther King, Gandhi. It's like that when people love you, they actually love you. They see the spiritual message, the spiritual power of this person. That's the revolution. Yeah. But as you're someone who's feared, someone who is a tyrant. Any day you can be overthrown, and they just want your power. They don't want you. They want what you have.
You want your soul. Yeah.
In order to acquire material things, I'm not saying that it's bad to earn money, but the point is, what are you doing to earn the money? Are you prostituting yourself, or are you doing something you believe in?
So getting into Graystone, what made you interested in doing a film on the subject?
Well, Graystone was destiny. It was. You have to understand that when I talk about the soul, when I talk about this spiritual journey, it's something that I was always fascinated by. I had always read the mystery schools. I'd always tried to study the Masonic tradition, Rosicrucianism. What is the mystical knowledge of the universe, the occult. But until you directly face it, to engage it, so you have to go to a place that's only Satanists go into, like literally.
Well, I've had some experiences myself without even personally, but yeah. There's no. I said I've had some experiences with the spirit world personally. There's no doubt in my mind that there is a spirit world,
So the point is that, but until you go there, and to especially a place like Graystone, which is an abandoned mental hospital, and you go on not knowing it's like opening Pandora's box, in a sense. You open this door and this place is a maze. This place is a labyrinth. It's a riddle. It's there, but you can't fathom how deep it goes, because probably I believe it's a portal, and I think that the Satanists who really do work there, and one Friday the 13th, my co-partner, my co-writer and co-actor on the film, Alex Rafe, he went there on a Friday the 13th, and he said there were 100 Satanists, all worshiping, conjuring jinns, demons, things like this, throughout the building, 100. So imagine the energy involved, the energies that have been unleashed. Thankfully now, when I go, I just pray. I just go inside to pray for the souls who might be lost inside.
Yeah, they did a lot of heinous things there too, so there's a lot of just darkness. It's just kind of stagnant there,
Yeah, exactly. Because this is, again, this correlates to MK Ultra type of things. But, until... Oh,
I was going to ask about that, but go on.
Yeah.
Go on.
The MK Ultra with, mind control experiments that were taken from the Nazis and brought over to, to be used by CIA.
The Operation Paperclip.
Post-war era.
Yeah.
I'm sure paperclip scientists were some of the originators of the MK Ultra, but we know it's Nazi because the MK, the mind control, control with a K, it indicates the Nazi work. The Nazis had done serious experiments on mind control, and we don't even know all the records necessarily, but this whole idea of how do you brainwash people, how do you change their way of thinking, how do you change their worldview? This is fascinating for the Nazis because they were occultists.
Yeah.
That until you get that the world is occult, that there is this is spiritual reality in physical form, fundamentally spiritual. Until you understand that, you can't really see the world as it is. So what you get with the Nazis are these occultists who are practicing black magic rituals, Heinrich Himmler and company doing like reenactments of, maybe not Templar rituals, but some kind of, old dual society, Nordic rituals in these castles, raising, who knows what they're doing, killing people, sacrifices. They try to raise their consciousness. They're trying to do all kinds of things, and this, this then intersects to the mind control stuff, and the, frankly, we know that the CIA figured that out because they started to correlate how the mind is involved in opening portals to other dimensions, and how when you do rituals, the words and the invocations do activate.
Even doing certain drugs, you can get a sense of a spirit world,
LSD for a reason. So frankly, it's like you just have to know that it all intersected. Who did a really good book on it was Peter Levenda with his Forces, and his series just looks at the synchronicities, a lot of these events and these murders, political murders, the MK Ultra phenomenon, the alien phenomenon, which correlates a lot to Jack Parsons and company who are doing their rituals. So it's like you start to glimpse the fact that people are there are Olympians, there are so-called Olympians, the 300 or so, right, who actually are the rulers of the world. We don't know who they are specifically. They're related to Pierce family. They're related to Lee Crowley, and these guys are a part of it, the manifestations of it. Who knows? They might be jinn. They might be non-humans in human form. I've heard this from multiple people, that there are beings who are, not, they take on, human appearance and they incarnate.
Well, there's a part of me that believes that that's possible because, you think of like war and all of the things that we're manipulated to do to each other. We had a guest on last week that was vaccine injured, and she was talking about like the pharmaceutical industry and just the heinous. It almost seems, and all the pollution and stuff that's going on the planet, the chemtrails. It's almost like they have to be not. There's part of me that thinks that they're not human because it's just such an anti-human, anti-life agenda.
That's right. Because they hate humans. At the end of the day, there has been a war, and the Muslims understand this. And many of the people, in the Western world are starting to get it, that there's jinns, there's entities that are not seen, they're hidden. They have many names, and they come in different forms: serpents, reptilians, elves, giants, things like this.
I have a question. Are jinns demons, or demons and jinns they're different entities?
Jinns are not demons. They're what we call genies, but genie is just one formulation. Jinns are everything hidden. They're good. There's like, if you call, like, for example, we have many stories about ETs, like Pleiadians, Plagiarians, Syrians, and Andromedans. They're all jinn. They're all unseen beings, because the jinn is just a generic term. It's not trying to specify and actually say, that entity comes from, Arcturus. It's saying it's a jinn. Yeah. And so rather than getting into like engaging with these entities, you just say that they're there. And many of them are tricksters, many of them are tricksters, and some of them are good. Some of them worship God. Some of them, worship the light, let's say, the power of light energy. And some are dark and they feed, and they're hungry for obscurity and confusion and fear. That's how they feed, like Matrix.
Well, yeah, but that's why it's they want us in a state of fear, because they feed off of that, They manipulate us through fear.
Mm-hmm. Precisely. It's a very powerful. It's almost like it's a very powerful emotion. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I can smell fear now. It's like I understand what dogs can smell it. But for me, it's a disgusting smell. But for a sadist or a sociopath,
They get off on it basically. Yeah. Yeah. So that was gonna I was gonna ask you, but you answered my question about it leading to the Jinn, about your experience with Graystone, kind of leading. So this is what led you into your investigation about the Jinn.
Well, I wanted to understand the Jinn from the Islamic worldview, and frankly, Iran is a country that's full of them, jinns, and it's historically it's a tremendous energy there.
Yeah.
Remember, part of Babylon, it shares Babylon with Iraq. Babylon goes from Iraq, the Tigris-Euphrates region, eastward to Iran. So it has a tremendous history. There's also known jinn portals, like Tabas, Alamut. Remember?
Like stargates, or?
Yeah, they could be. There's a lot of technology that's not really, we don't comprehend it. For example, I asked a friend of mine recently, I said, why did the Illuminati of the West do all their rituals in Egyptian? Why is it all Egyptian magic? And she said because they don't culturally understand Babylonian magic, and I think they're trying to excavate it. They're trying to learn from, for example, when they took Iraq, a lot of it was about excavating underneath and finding artifacts and trying to understand the rituals of the Babylonians. But I think the Western Illuminati are under Egyptian control, the pharaonic influence. It's a very interesting, issue of Babylon versus Egypt and Atlantis. I mean, this is just ancient history that that is passed down within certain circles. But unless you're an initiate, you just you don't know.
Well, that's how they keep their power,
Yeah, of course.
Did you since you're in the Middle East, did you ever do any investigation about like the Yemen and the Gulf of Aden? That area.
I just know it's very haunted with jinn, and I think that has something to do with the Bin Laden family because they come from Yemen, and I think they might even be jinn, but who knows?
Interesting. So it seems like you're very well traveled. Do you discuss in any of your findings, any of your experiences with people outside of the U.S.? Because I feel like the U.S. we're just kind of I feel like we're kind of in a bubble. I mean, I love my country, I love my people, but I just feel like in some ways we're just so I don't know, just
insulated.
Yeah, I'll take that.
By two huge oceans, right?
Yeah, I just definitely I'll take that word. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have conversations about other people? Actually, how many countries have you been to?
Oh, maybe 35 or so. I mean, I have a lot to look forward to.
That's great. That's awesome. I'm 8 and counting.
That's good.
But hey, I've never been to New York or Chicago though. So.
Well, there you go. Yeah, New York is a great city. I mean, Chicago, I haven't been in a while. Frankly, I don't know. I'm not compelled to go to Chicago just yet.
But wow, 35. That's a lot of countries. Have you been on every continent? Touched on every continent?
Antarctica, and I haven't been to Australia. So I'm curious. I want to go to Antarctica. I want to go find the poles. The entry to the inner Earth, the hollow Earth.
Yeah.
Expedition. I gotta find somebody who can take me there.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
In the hollow Earth, inside the lost cities that they say are there. Who knows? Maybe they're in a different dimension.
Yeah, that would be great. I would like, though. I'm a little afraid. I would like to be able to get back. I don't know how much I can risk if I'm doing stuff like exploring places like that. I want to be able to make it back.
Why? Maybe it's better there.
Yeah, that's a good point. This is a good point. Yeah, it is. Maybe it could be better there. I guess I would just think about the people that I love here, and leaving them behind and feeling bad for them. I guess that's more what I'm thinking about if I were to do something like that.
Yeah.
Like what it would do to my mom or my dad, things like that. My friends. Yeah, because I think about Amelia Earhart and doing research on what is it, the Dragon's Triangle?
Well,
I think that's what happened to her. Like she didn't. They said, oh, she crashed, but I suspect that maybe she went through the Dragon's Triangle. I think it's called the Dragon's Triangle.
In Bermuda?
No, there's one in the Pacific, on the Pacific side. There's the Bermuda Triangle, and there's another one. There's like at least 3 that I know of. There's one by Australia too. It's kind of like a Bermuda Triangle-esque. But there's one like right by Japan, north of Taiwan, Japan area. There's another triangle, or another energy field or force field, something that's similar to the Bermuda Triangle on this side on the Pacific side too.
Yeah, it's just very frustrating that that our government keeps so much secret from us. They don't want to reveal anything, of value when it comes to how energetics rules our solar system and our universe in general, our cosmos. Plasma physics, for example, right? That's all predicated on the idea of energetic states of gaseous fields that are energetically charged, right? And it's not, space obviously is not an empty vacuum at all. It's full of plasma, and there's all these, there's just so much that we haven't learned yet as far as electromagnetism.
Oh, definitely.
Based upon our DNA, upon our planet, and just how energy shifts. That's why these guys, they do rituals according to dates and astrology and just alignments with stars and whatnot. But they know, and they don't want to tell us. They want to keep us ignorant of it. They want to keep oppressed because we're basically eating their junk food. Their
oh yeah.
And
the drugs, the drugs, yeah.
Not really, not getting in touch with our souls, with the fact that we are immortal souls living in human bodies, and we incarnated for a reason. And first, if you have to ask the question, if Christ said you must knock in order to receive. You have to ask. You cannot simply sit there and eat this junk and watch this poison, or eat the poison and watch the junk, and expect answers. It takes work. So really, it's a soul quest, and the native cultures understood it much better than we do, because we played the part of Atlantis in America. This is the new Atlantis for a reason, and I just I work every day to ensure that we don't suffer the same destruction that Atlantis suffered.
Yeah. Well, it's really it's creepy to think that we're headed in that direction, but we are. But I don't know. I have faith in humanity, though. I'm not. I can't live in fear. I can't live in, I made this decision not to, and I still have so much. I've been researching and learning all this stuff really within the past 2 years. I have so much, so much more to learn. I guess, you never stop learning, but I think when you first start learning about this stuff, it's really disturbing. I think it's kind of traumatic for some people. I know it was for me. I fell for the Obama Kool-Aid trick. I was one of those people at a point, and now I kind of woke up, and I'm on my I guess my quest, so to speak, and it gets, and I think there's some people that they learn this stuff, but then they get really cynical. They get really maybe they turn dark, or they stay in the fear, or they stay in the anger. A lot of people seem like they stay angry about it. They don't move past that.
Correct. They buy into the material reality, and you have to, like I said, you have to come to terms that this is a spiritual existence. This is all about you. At the end of the day, this is your journey, your personal journey through the world. It will be as glorious or as miserable as you choose. If you want the quick route, that's Satan's route. That's the miserable route. That will lead you to hell. All paths lead back to God. Don't doubt that. But some just take longer than others. and some have more honor and glory than others. Not everyone can enjoy the glory because that requires tremendous suffering, tremendous work, and endurance and pain. But it's worth it.
Interesting, yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, I just want to get back to, I wanted to, I was talking about earlier, we had a girl on who's vaccine injured, and we were talking about, like, the Gardasil. Are you familiar with the Gardasil and the happenings with that, the Gardasil injection?
No, I try to avoid all of those injections.
No, well, I mean, so, there's a Gardasil injection that they're marketing to girls, maybe ages 12 and up, saying that it can cause, it could stop HPV and ultimately prevent you from getting cervical cancer. So they're marketing this injection, saying, hey, take the Gardasil shot, you'll be safe and you won't get cervical cancer. And all these girls have been lining up to get the Gardasil shot. And people, girls have been getting injured left and right. There have been deaths, and the commercial for the Gardasil commercial is like, I want to be one less, I want to be one less. And it was just thinking, that they're targeting mainly, girls around that age, assuming, that they're virgins, and they're dying, and they're not pulling, people are dying, getting injured, like I said, they're not pulling it. They've banned it in India. I think they've banned advertising in France. But it's just like, I was talking to April, and we were talking about how it just seems like this, like it's just some sort of sick virginal sacrifice,
Mm-hmm.
that the Illuminati are doing.
Maybe.
Maybe. I know, yeah, you don't know a lot about that.
There's so many forms, there's so many forms of sacrifice. I mean, honestly, these guys, like, it's all around. The elites do it, the proletariat do it, the middle class do it, the working class do it. Everybody does it. They go out to these, what is Vegas? It's a giant orgiastic Dionysian cult, and you got to be addicted to something to be there.
Yeah.
Why do you partake of these things? Where is the fun? Where is the fun in taking advantage of people who are drugged out? Why is this culture that we want to get everyone fucked up on alcohol, on drugs, and then we have fun taking advantage of that? What's wrong with people?
Yeah, I know. I know, yeah.
Don't you want, like, a genuine sympathy or like between two people? Why do you want it only when they're out of their mind, out of their control, possessed by demons?
Yeah.
It's miserable. That's not going to make you happy, and you end up trying to pull your skin back and keep your face on your skull when you're 50, 60 years old from all those toxins you're poisoning yourself with.
Sure. Was there ever a point when you were, the more that, I mean, obviously you've done a lot of research and you travel and you explore, and I'm sure you've found out some pretty awesome, enlightening things, but also some pretty dark things as well. So I mean, how do you stay? I mean, you don't seem to be somebody that has like stayed in the anger, like you move past the denial and you like you move past the anger. You seem like you're just chilling, like you're not really.
No. I mean, I think there's a lot of anger, but I also have, frankly, principles of meditation and prayer that I think keeps me grounded. But of course, I think that God's wrath will come. I believe, I truly believe that there will be reckoning, but it's not my place to do it. It's not my place to go chopping off heads. Maybe on film. That's my way.
That's my catharsis.
I'll take my revenge in art and creating it, but divine retribution will come to everyone. It's not my place to assume God's will. All I can do is do my calling, which is to help, educate, to create, to give insight, to show beauty in art, tragedy, comedy. It all comes, it's all expressions of our emotions as humans. I would love to paint the human landscape and also the metaphysical landscape. We're in a very magical world, and I'm just here to try to open people's third eye.
So how important you think art is? I mean, in getting people to open their third eye.
Art is the key. I mean, that's why the Illuminati's all over this town, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's Los Angeles. You know, the city of angels.
Angels, yeah.
The city of fallen angels. But the art triggers things in us. You know, that's why when we see a film, you know, there's so many films that just, they don't touch my heart. You know, they play upon my instincts, my gut reaction, you know, my gut emotions, but it doesn't play upon my heart. It doesn't make, you know, you can watch something and know you're watching something satanic. It's like morally just disgust you. You know, that's I think where we are for the most part. And then, you know, when you trigger genuine, you know, Shakespeare, it's almost like Shakespearean, you know, it's like this tradition of triggering people's emotions, their thoughts, their higher consciousness. You know, it goes back to Plato, frankly. Plato wrote in dialogue for a reason. All interaction takes place through dialogue. But is a dialogue a dialectic? Is it trying to get us towards a higher reason? An insight into reasoning itself? Is it giving us a little twist, you know, in the sense of how we can suddenly formulate a new idea, a new thesis? We shift our thinking at every moment if we allow ourselves to go through that dialogue and change. And that's the whole nature of storytelling, right? It's that we want to basically show a transformation. We want to show some new insight, some new discovery. So it's a bit scientific too, you know, this process of having a theory. You know, you theorize, you then you put it out to marketplace. You say, look, you know, this is my theory that man is like this, woman is like that, and they go through these transformations, and they end up, you know, in a different, a totally different person. And you take it out to market, and you see if people respond to that. Does it connect to them? Does it resonate? And you know, we obviously know those classics resonate for a reason. Something that shows something about human nature, that it excites us. Now, sometimes it can be satanic, but for the most part, I think beautiful art awakens us and takes new awareness.
Yeah. I remember when I was in college and I took like a class on I took a few classes on like African American history, and they were talking about when they would go and they would like when people would go and they would take over like tribes or and groups, what they would do, the first thing would take away is their art, their religion. Oh, I forgot the other one. It was their art, their religion, and there was something else. I can't think of the last one. But I remember I thought that was really interesting. Those are the two things that they went after. Was like their art and their religion.
Art.
You know. Maybe their history. Their history? I don't know.
Well, frankly,
it makes sense.
Art and religion is the key place to go.
Yeah.
That's the power of belief. And frankly, the 20th century was when they tried to turn the cinema into the new religion. That was, you know, the new idea of spectacle. The idea of the idols and spectacle was in the cinema. You know, this darkened place where we have communal worship. It was back to the Greeks, frankly. The Greek theater, the Greek concept of a communal experience, catharsis or ecstasy, but also those were more of the mystery schools concepts. The real essence of it was that you would reflect your society, the artist would reflect the society and be a shaman. I mean, that's probably what you're talking about, the African tradition. It's this idea that the artist is shamanic. He basically channels the zeitgeist, the spirit of this culture that he lives in, and tries to cure it through going back to the audience and then showing certain solutions or showing the natural consequences. If you follow this path, you will end in tragedy.
Well, that, but also in essence, like the people are just connected through, their spirits are connected through art. So if you want to control them, you know, if you take their art away from them, they have nothing to they have no foundation. They have nothing to. It's kind of like their energy source. I would say in a sense, you know.
The energy source is which one?
The art.
Yeah.
You know.
It is, because you see all the Illuminati symbols. So we say like our Illuminati, like the pyramid, star, the 5-sided star, the 6-sided star. You know, the Egyptian hieroglyphs. Many of these symbols are really like mandalas. You know, they're basically things you're supposed to focus on for healing purposes. The whole thing about poison is that poison is also healing.
Yeah, it's two sides of the same coin. Like the Nazi symbol, it's a piece. You know, they're all over here in Taiwan, but then, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just inverted it. Yeah.
So the whole point is the inversions. These guys love. That's what Satan is about. It's inverting what is supposed to be love for God into love for this world. Right?
And you know,
it seems taking your higher consciousness and turning it upside down into your base lower chakras. You see.
Yes, true. And it's like the Illuminati. From my observation, it seems the way they work. They don't create, right? They take something else that somebody has created. They're not creators. They kind of just stand back, watch somebody create it, and then they like infiltrate it, you know, and like
completely
warp it.
You'd be amazed.
You know?
You'd be amazed at how they contract people to write certain projects. They just they don't have any creative minds. They're just there to basically say, do this or we'll hurt you. We'll take something from you.
We'll take you, or just take it.
Exactly. It's just that little Faustian. You know, it's a Faustian bargain. There's little demons, you know, popping up, going, oh, you know, we see that you have talent here. Wouldn't you like to have these girls and these parties and this power and these boats? And you know, all we want in return is, you know, that you work
your soul.
You want. They don't tell you that you want your soul. They just tell you, we want you to, you know, work for us. You just, you know, here, write this. Here, sing this. Here, write, sing these lyrics. Write this script, this concept into your script. Or even they don't tell you. You know, otherwise, you know, you're doing it because the people paying you are working for them. In which case, you better wonder, shoot, I must be doing something wrong because they're liking it. They're buying.
Yeah. I'm from Los Angeles too, and I've grown up in Los Angeles since I was a kid, and it's interesting. I think for me, my point of view, growing up there, you can stand back and watch the people that come into Los Angeles all starry-eyed with dreams, and for me, it's like I'm so protective of those people because I feel like, you know, they're coming out to LA, they want to be an actor, they want to be a musician, they want to be, I don't know, whatever, they want to be a part of the entertainment industry, and they have no foundation, right? They're leaving their family, they're leaving their friends behind, they're just coming out, you know, just on a whim, you know, and hoping that something's going to happen, but they're so vulnerable to all of these.
They're poor lost kids, you know.
I
brought up by Project Monarch. You know, they're basically programmed from before they're conscious. A lot of them are raped as kids. Their first sexual experience is rape. And, you know, they don't know any better. So they come here and then they get hooked into the drug scene, this culture of celebrity. They think they hang out with some guy who's a promoter. Okay, the promoter, he's got some sway at a club or some clubs, and he knows some guys. So he's this kind of semi-celebrity in their eyes. And then he knows like another guy who they've heard of. So that guy, you know, so he's really cool. Then eventually they get to meet some celebrities, have sex with a few, and you know, then they feel like they have attained, you know, some prestige. You know, they're the whore celebrity. It's like, you know, what are you getting out of all this? Poor thing. But you know, not everybody is that bad. Obviously, there's a lot of girls that come here. They keep their integrity. They keep their self-esteem, and they realize that, you know, you got to make it. You got to make your own destiny. You're not gonna somebody giving it to you.
Yeah, true.
You know, me included, anyone. Doesn't matter if you're born into this industry or not. You still have to prove your worth at every step of the way.
True. Yeah, that's true. You gotta be able to prove you can stay. You know.
Yes.
Definitely. So, did you ever spend any time in New York as far as like the artist scene? I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say, how is it? It seems like like I said, I've never been, but I hear it's different. The energy's different from New York than it is from Los Angeles when you're talking about like creativity and art. Is it?
Yeah. Well, sure. New York is there is a certain how do you say it? There's a little bit something a bit more talktness in a sense. It's like it comes in New York. It comes out of the streets. It comes out of the experience of being there. There's so many different cultures clashing and mixing it up that I find it inspirational. Whereas LA is a place where everyone just goes to kind of swap and steal ideas and kowtow to what the studios are looking for. It's much harder to keep your authenticity.
Would you say that LA is like more manufactured and maybe New York is like just more raw talent?
That's a good way to put it. Look, I mean, the whole concept of entertainment industry is nonsense. There is no entertainment industry except the illusion of one. You know, the point is we're supposed to be artists. We're supposed to be shamanic. We're supposed to be drawing upon inspiration to basically transmute to cure the society, the psyche of the society. Where that's what we're supposed to be here to do. We're supposed to be here to either lift the spirit and show a tragedy, or lift it with in comedy. Essentially, we're here to reflect, and we're here to go deeper. We're not just here to entertain you. We're not goddamn blackface or gladiators killing each other for spectacle. This is disgusting. That's the reality TV culture, though.
Oh yeah, I don't do that, but yeah.
Well, I do.
But yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed my experience working on the conspiracy theory, because that was actually a show where we try to investigate some genuine conspiracies and wake people up to some of these things. Ultimately, you can't go so deep as you like, and you can't get, let's say, like all the information out there that you'd like to get. You find restrictions, sure, between time limitations, between just people that won't talk to you, between the restrictions of the network. But at the end of the day, it's a good show as far as it begs the question, and the question is all we need, that we inspire the curious people to go out and investigate.
Well, I guess when I was thinking reality TV, I was just thinking of people just basically spying on people. That I was thinking in terms of that. Like, I don't do that. But,
well, they don't really spy on people. It's scripted.
It's scripted, yeah. But I mean, just like still, yeah.
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 So what else?
Right. No, it's cool. When is Graystone coming out?
Expect Graystone in September on video on demand in the States. I'm not sure where are you now. You're in Singapore or Taiwan?
Taiwan.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if Taiwanese have bought it yet. We should get it there eventually.
Oh no, I'm coming back though. Well, personally, I'm coming back in August. So.
Okay, nice.
Be done, yeah. But so it's September?
Yeah, expect it in September on VOD, video on demand, and October for DVD.
Okay, awesome. And then impeach Obama campaign. Anything you want to add about that? Anything else you want to tell anybody about before you?
Look, that video was done to wake people up to the fact that this guy has done impeachable offenses. If people don't want to act upon it, they don't want to become conscious, they don't want to spread it. Every American should have seen it. That they haven't is their own tragedy. I'm not here to like proselytize and tell you how to think when it comes to politics. I just want to make you aware of what this guy has done that we know about. Forget about the things that you don't know about him.
Cool. Well, cool. Well, wow, you're very knowledgeable. You're just, I feel like I can talk to you forever. I feel like I have so much learning to do. This is great. But, yeah, thank you so much for coming. You're a sweetheart. Thanks so much for doing the show.
Of course. Thank you for having me. And hopefully we'll do it again.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, thank you for listening to Truth or Talk. Please visit our website at www.truthertees.com. You can also shop with us at shop.truthertees.com, where you can buy our latest T-shirt, the Conspiracy Realist T-shirt, and you can also get a copy of Liam Sheff's official stories. But thanks again for listening, and until next time, you guys, peace, truth, and love.